Welcome back to the channel. My name is Rami, and today, what do you know? We're talking watches. This is the NJ-0150-81Z. It is a Citizen watch with an 8100 Miyota movement. I've had this watch on wrist for about 2.5 weeks so far, and it loses about 5 seconds a day. But this watch has really been incredible to wear. I think oftentimes these watches tend to be criticized for not being, their own design, or perhaps a knockoff of someone else. In this case, could be a blend of the Rolex Oyster Perpetual, as well as the presidential, even the bracelet. This bracelet does taper in similar fashion. It's got very much similar design in terms of the indices and other parts of the layout, case size, etc. But in my opinion, every consumer or watch enthusiast gets to make a decision. It's a yellow dial. I chose the yellow dial. This watch comes in a blue dial, a green dial, and a black dial. And of course, as you can see here, the yellow, which interestingly, in certain lights and certain moments, it has these sort of sunburst, sun effects, and it just makes it either a blend of yellow and gold or yellow and orange, depending on how you see it. But I think this is the thing about watches. This is my opinion. I've been passionate about watches since I was about 7 or 8 years old. Had my first Casios, my first G-Shock when I was 11. And I think it's the joy, and it's always should come down to being the joy of watches and watch collecting or watch wearing, not even collecting. Some people aren't collectors. They just want to have one piece every few years, or they want to have one or two, for occasions perhaps. Then you've got others that are a little bit more insane like myself that really do want to collect them, experience them, perhaps, just mix it up. It's an obsession of sorts, I'm not going to lie. And this watch is no different. And I thought about it. I said, if I were to buy a Rolex, would I spend, 7 to 10,000, in some cases 12 to 15,000 on an Oyster Perpetual? Or could I find an alternative that I could have a lot of fun with, enjoy it, right? And not be caught up in sort of, well, it doesn't say Rolex on it, or it doesn't have this feature or that feature. This watch for 300 pounds or 300 and change US dollars, which interestingly, some of these colors are not even available everywhere. It's very hard to find this one. I think production will increase. I think one of the ways Citizen rolled this watch out is very similar perhaps to how Swatch rolled out the Moon Swatch. But nevertheless, I think most people will say, look, if I'm going to buy a Rolex, and I'm going to spend 10 grand, I'm going to buy something that I feel is more perhaps universal, something that I can wear with everything. Whereas perhaps if I'm going to get a yellow dial watch, I want something fun and playful for the summertime, for the springtime, and I don't necessarily want to spend $8,000 on it. And so this is that watch. This watch has the Miyota 8100 movement. Some people have said that theirs does not have the hacking. This one hacks. It actually allows you to, pull out the crown, which is not a screw down crown, and kind of set it and see how well it performs over a period of time. As I said, this watch has been losing 5 to 10 seconds. So it's not the worst, considering it's not COSC certified or any certification, if you will, but it's a workhorse movement. People know this Miyota movement. It's time tested. It's been used in multiple Citizen watches. In fact, tons of micro brands also utilize this movement. This watch does have the date as well. So it's the time and date. And it's really just a fantastic timepiece for its price point. The winding is a little bit difficult, kind of getting your finger in there, interesting. But it has a pretty neat sensation when you do finally are able to catch it. You can feel that clicking sound. You can feel it as it sounds like as you're winding it. But it also is exceptionally well in just a little bit of movement. I have yet to have to readjust this watch since I got it. It's been keeping time relatively well. As I said, it's off by, in the last 20 plus days, it's off by about a minute and change, minute and 20, and perhaps 20 seconds. So really great watch, ton of fun to wear. And I think that's really what it comes down to. At the end of the day, it's the experience, right? This is what it looks like on the wrist. I have a 6.5-inch wrist. I didn't have it tightened too much. I kept it a bit loose. It is winter time, but I know that as summer approaches, this watch is going to wear a bit tighter. But as you can see, it's just got that orange, beautiful dial, right? That tends to change depending on light situations. It's got the sapphire crystal front and on the case back, as you can see there. It's got the and it's also been sort of adorned with sort of gold finishings for the movement on the 8100, which is a really great touch. Nothing too fancy or too sophisticated, but nevertheless, a nice piece for, as I said, the 300. It's hard to say you can compete with that. Touching a little bit on the aesthetics and the finishing quality. As you can see, it's got polished. It's got the polished bezel. It's got the polished ends of the casing. It's got some polishing also on the rear, on the back, on the case back. The middle links are polished and the side links are brushed. Some people have said that Seiko, this is a Citizen, but Seiko's bracelets they leave a lot to be desired. I would argue that Citizen creates a pretty damn good bracelet. This is a phenomenal bracelet for the price point. It doesn't clink as much, nearly as bad as what Seiko offers for their price points. So I think for the money and the fact that this tapers a little bit also, similar to the Rolex Presidential, I think that makes a big deal. I think it makes a major impact on the feel of this watch. It feels more substantial than anything I've worn from a Seiko at the Seiko price points. Somewhere between the $100 and $500 range. I think this is by far superior. So again, I think it's in context to what you would spend at the $2,000, $3,000, and $5,000 and even $10,000 price point. Are you getting $10,000 more bracelet? Are you getting a $10,000 more finish? I think you're obviously buying into a brand, and I'm not here to debate the value of the brand of Rolex because I'm not here to argue that. That's absurd. But I think it's fair to say that if you want a fun watch and you're not necessarily interested in dropping 10 G's for it, I think this is a phenomenal alternative for a fun day wear, for daily wear. Just thinking about how this thing would wear in the summertime also, right? You're out, you're off to the beach, or you're just, going to a pool party or a night party. You can dress it up, dress it down. It's a t-shirt with a blazer kind of watch, but it's also a fantastic button down, under the cuff, or roll up the sleeves type of watch. I think the versatility is there. Why? Because it combines a little bit of the tropical of the color with a little bit of the more sophistication on the bracelet and the finishing on the casing and the bracelet. Having that sapphire is an added touch to this watch. I think that definitely makes a difference. And just knowing that you're wearing an automatic movement that is a workhorse, I think also sort of deserves its place. I think that's something worth mentioning. And so I think the ultimate word to sum up what this watch is value. It's absolute value. And so I would encourage anybody, whether you're a watch collector or an enthusiast, to just really think about how you could have a ton of fun with this Citizen. And the name of it is the Citizen Tiosa, and it is the NJ-0150-81Z. That's the reference for the yellow dial. Again, it's the 8100 Miyota movement. It does hack, feels phenomenal. It wears great. I think it's an extremely attractive watch. The one area of contention that I think they could have probably done a better job, but again, you just have to go back to the price point. And perhaps it would be, yeah, sort of the clasp. It's not a milled clasp or anything sort of very exciting, but it does its job. It locks well. I've never had an issue with it coming off or getting loose. And I think for $300, you should not overthink this. I think it would be silly to overthink the sort of the little nuances that could be improved upon on this watch when you're truly having fun with a watch that I think could be a lot of fun to wear as springtime approaches. Again, something worth considering if you're thinking about just a beater, fun watch, weekend watch. I think this is absolutely the way to go, and you don't want to, drop $10,000 on a Rolex. I think between the Aquaterra, the Rolex, and this for the price point, it's fun to have one of these. Yeah, if you are interested in collecting other watches and you have more expensive watches, whether it's a Tudor or a Rolex or an Omega, I think that's great. I think it's the alternative colors that I ask myself, well, if I want to buy an expensive watch, I'm probably going to think about something like the Rolex Explorer or the Tudor GMT, which I'll be doing a review on very soon. Crazy story there. I'd had the movement replaced by Rolex, covered under warranty, despite the fact that it had just surpassed the warranty period, but I'll leave that to the next video. But I think the bottom line is, if you're going to spend $10,000, you might want to do it on something that you feel is more versatile, whereas this one might have sort of limitations due to the color. And I think that's what makes this fun to wear, is you don't care. You're not thinking about, oh my, did I overspend on something that I'm not going to utilize as often? And so it just comes into play and makes you think about, sort of the options that you have there. Anyways, that's it. If you have any comments, I'd love to know your thoughts. Do you have this watch? Would you consider buying the Citizen NJ0150-81, whichever color that you want? Or are you going to stick with the Rolex, the Omegas, and you feel like this is like a downgrade for you? Personally, I'm not a watch snob. I have a Tudor. I don't own a Rolex yet. I have a Tudor. I have some Seikos. I do have a couple of micro brands, one being the Veyer D7 Arctic, which I did a review on. Please check the link below and subscribe to my channel. Greatly appreciated, and hope you enjoyed this video. Talk to you next time.